Greetings and konnichiwa, and welcome to the Onyx Tavern. This is your host, the Barkeep, bringing you podcast 67 here at the Tavern, presented by Hirotaku.com. Well, I don't know about the rest of you guys, but for the last couple of weeks, I've been very much enraptured in the Morphin Madness craze. For those of you who do not know, Morphin Madness, in lieu of March Madness, is a tournament-style bracket in which you can vote for your favorite Power Rangers of all time, to where the 5 winners will be made into a special edition Legendary Ranger key set, which you can win, along with a 24-karat gold-plated Morpher. So it's a big sweepstakes where they want to get a lot of fan involvement and really just have you guys vote for the best Ranger of all time. Now, the reason that I'm covering this today is in the last 24 hours, we've actually had some very interesting news in regards to Morphin Madness. And I eventually wanted to talk about Morphin Madness when it was done. I was going to do a special here with D-Jedi and Raptor, which we will eventually get to. But since this has come out, I just wanted to take this opportunity, kind of like midway through the tournament, to talk about a lot of the issues that have come up here and things that are, controversies amongst the fans, and just general problems with this whole setup, and ultimately what the results are going to go ahead and be. So to begin with that, I'm going to talk to you about a couple of statistics that we have here. Now again, there's only 80 Rangers. They didn't include all the Rangers into the bracket here. But of those 80 Rangers, only 1 Alien Ranger is represented. Only 2 Operation Overdrive Rangers are in the bracket. All of Mighty Morphin and Ninja Storm are included, as well as Super Mega Force minus Orion, who, as of today's date, has not actually been introduced into the series. So we got 3 full teams in there, but one team that's only represented by 1 Ranger, and then 1 team that's only represented by 2 Rangers. Another interesting statistic is that all the Time Force Rangers except Katie are represented in this bracket, and 9 of the 80 Rangers are females, and those are Emma, Gia, Lauren, Gemma, Udana, Tori, Jen, Kimberly / Catherine, or Trini / Aisha, and we'll talk about that issue here in a minute. So I don't know why they felt that they need to have a field of 80. I know that you have to keep it usually an even number to have a balanced tournament, particularly if you're going to be choosing, one champion. And I suppose that there's a little bit of difficulty in choosing 5, but it's a problem when you can't have every single Ranger represented. And because ultimately when you get to the end, a lot of people are going to claim these are the 5 most popular Rangers of all time. But if your Ranger doesn't get the opportunity to be voted upon, then can we really say it was a fair tournament? Because if Katie's not in there, and there are people who like Katie, most especially I know Linkara likes Katie a lot. But if you don't get a chance to vote for Katie, then how will we know if she was the most popular? Heck, people could absolutely love Katie and think she's the greatest Yellow Ranger of all time, but if you can't vote for it, then you don't get a say in it. So that's very bothersome, along with the fact that there are only 9 females within this tournament. I mean, some of them are obvious. I mean, yeah, the first 2, Mighty Morphin Pink and Yellow's in there. Jen's very popular. Tori's very popular. I was very curious that Kira wasn't included. I know there are tons of people who love Kira, Raptor included. She wasn't in there. Udana was chosen for some reason. I wouldn't necessarily look at her as a very popular character. I've never heard people who absolutely love Udana in there, so her inclusion is a little bit suspect, as is Lauren's. Because here's ultimately the problem I have with Lauren, and not necessarily Lauren, but even the princess from Shinkanger and the keys associated. So let me take a sidebar real quick. If you went out and bought a Shinken Red key, okay, there you go, you got the Shinken Red key. But then they sold separately the Shinken Princess, Red Princess key. if you compare the two together, they are identical, with the exception of a couple of painted lines that represent a skirt on the princess, basically. So you're basically paying extra money for a duplicate key. Now, I've always felt that the Shinken Red keys, and by extent, the Samurai Red Ranger keys, are a cheat. They're just trying to sell an extra product to something that is identical. And let me just give you guys a quick example of this. All right, say you give Troy the red Samurai key, okay? And then you give Emma the red Princess key, and they morph. Okay, you got the red Samurai Ranger and the red Samurai Ranger female. But say Troy and Emma switched keys. There isn't going to be any difference between their actual appearances, because as we know, if you're a female and you transform into the Red Ranger, you're going to get a skirt anyway, if that series has skirt, minus, SPD Deca Ranger. So the key doesn't serve any real purpose other than give you two of the exact same Ranger, which you could do by just duplicating the key. So to tie it back into Morphin Madness, what kind of bothers me is that we actually have the opportunity to vote in, the way the bracket is, two Samurai Red Rangers, which means two of the identical same keys, except one has black lines on it to represent it's a skirt. I don't think that was fair to include Lauren in there based on that, but also include that she only appeared in a couple of episodes, and I haven't heard anybody who ever thought that Lauren was a good character, especially compared to her counterpart. Now, are there people in there who are Lauren fans? Absolutely. But if you're going to limit your field down to 80, you could have picked a more popular female character. Again, Raptor would probably argue Kira should be in there. Catherine, put her in there as the Pink Zeo Ranger. There are far more females. Cassie, that's another one that comes to mind. There are far more females who would deserve that spot over a Ranger whose key is a cheat, whose character is boring, and whose story arc is also equally as boring, and her actress is a bad actress. I don't know why they include Lauren in there. I guess they thought Red Female Ranger was interesting. But if you were going to do that, why not Charlie? You got the A Squad, which I find kind of odd. We're not getting A Squad keys, or at least the opportunity to vote for an A Squad character. So that's my spiel right now, I guess, on the key aspect and the 9 female Rangers. I really think they should have done much more with that. They should have gotten more females in there. I don't know why they decided to go ahead and do that. Now, another issue that comes up is when you actually vote for your Rangers, before you do so, if you don't know anything about them or you want to learn more about them, you can click on the information button. It gives you a short, 1-2 sentence synopsis of who that Ranger is, what makes them special, talks about their character, which I think is great, because what I think will happen with some people is now I had my wife vote on it. She doesn't know a thing about Power Rangers, except she knows who Tommy is. But when she looks at them, she based on whichever one she thinks looks cool, which I don't think is the right way to go ahead and vote here. Yes, it's for the fans, but the casual viewer should actually know about who they're voting for. Just like if you're doing a March Madness bracket tournament, you don't necessarily pick a team because the point guard is sexy or they have the coolest uniforms. You based on who actually is the most talented team out there. That being said, of course, the information in there is pretty precise, pretty accurate. I haven't really seen any type of errors in their characters. But something that does kind of bother me is that some Rangers with multiple identities are not being labeled as a specific character. Now, I'll give you an example here. The Green Turbo Ranger is said to be Carlos, not Adam. So when you vote for the Green Turbo Ranger, you're voting for the character of Carlos, but you're not voting for the character of Adam, which is significant because those two are almost completely different from each other. But when you vote for Mighty Morphin Yellow, it doesn't say if it's Trini or Aisha. And what's odd is when they list her Zords, it gives Saber-Tooth Tiger Dino Zord, Griffin Thunder Zord, Bear Ninja Zord, and Yellow Shogun Zord. Well, Trini did not have anything beyond the Saber-Tooth Tiger Zord, and Aisha never piloted the Saber-Tooth Tiger. So what this is effectively doing is you're not voting for Trini or Aisha, you're voting for the concept of the Yellow Mighty Morphin Power Ranger. And I think that's a problem because we have characters here. Let's emphasize that. Characters with a capital C. And if you don't actually spell out who that character is, then you have people like my wife who are just picking whichever one looks good. And I don't think that's a good way for us to actually vote for the greatest Rangers of all time. One issue a lot of people have been having that's actually cropped up a number of times is when they vote for Troy. Because they say when they see the image, they see Gokai Red. They see Marvelous. They don't see Troy, and some of them will actually vote on that fact alone that they like Gokai Red, but they don't like Troy. Which explains to me greatly why Troy has gotten so far in the tournament. Because let's be honest, people, Troy is not that interesting of a character. He hasn't done anything particularly interesting up until this point. So I don't understand why people are voting for him based on his character. But it seems they're voting on him because he's the cool Red Ranger, which I think is a very dangerous thing. So ultimately where I'm going with this is I think I'm getting into the mentality of the voters, because it seems there are people out there who are misinformed about the voting or don't necessarily care about the voting. Now, I don't know what your typical 10-year-old voting is going to do, your 6-year-old, even if they have access to it, or a Power Ranger fan in their 60s. Everybody's going to be voting on something different. But I do have an issue with the fact that we are seeing the Rangers with their suits and voting on them saying, vote for Gold Ranger, and you only know which Gold Ranger it is when you actually click the info button. What they really should have done, I think, is have a picture of the Ranger and their civilian form, or even have it to where Tommy's the Green Ranger with his helmet off. Troy's the Red Ranger with his helmet off. That way you can actually base on character, because you're saying, oh, I remember him. Not for the suit, but for the character. And to be honest, this is a problem that I think is happening in both Super Sentai and Power Rangers, where the suit is becoming more popular than the actual character is. But that's a discussion for really another time. It would explain a number of things that are happening with this voting, where people are voting based on the suit and the aesthetics as opposed to the actual characters, which would explain, say, why Billy got voted out by Trent in I think the second or third round. Because let's be honest, Billy is a more interesting character, a more beloved character and actor, as opposed to Trent, who, yes, is the White Dino Thunder Ranger, and that is cool. But how many people are actually voting for White Dino Thunder Ranger based on a Bari killer or the fact that his costume looks really cool? I get the feeling there are more people voting there because I don't think too many people can objectively say that Trent is a more interesting or more beloved character than Billy. Yes, you can have that argument, but again, I think objectively speaking, I will say that Billy is superior to Trent in the realm of character and character development. But again, that seems to be ignored here by the vast majority. Otherwise, I can't necessarily explain why some people are getting voted over others. I will tell you one thing that's kind of interesting, though, and I'll go back to this point about certain characters not making it onto the bracket. And I'll bring this up because, again, Kara was a very popular character. That's why she was brought back for Once a Ranger, but was not listed on the bracket. Yet, Justin, who was always hated by the fans, the character, not Blake Foster, but the character was always hated, somehow made it onto the bracket, and in the first round beat Sky. I don't know if that was people trolling or not, but I just find that kind of interesting that we have a character people don't particularly like who ends up winning in the first round, and a character people do like and was popular enough to get a return in the anniversary special gets left out completely on the board. So now the next issue, and I have this about the Ultimate Sweepstakes. Now, I'm not going to go off on you guys like I did about the Morpher that they did at San Diego Comic-Con. These are different circumstances. This is a contest. That's a little bit different than what was going on out in San Diego. So I don't have an issue with that, and frankly, I don't want this Morpher anyway because, well, if you see the American Morphers, they're a joke, and adding gold onto it isn't going to make it any better. Moving on, however, when they get the 5 Rangers, they're going to make the Special Edition Keys set. Now, I want to know what constitutes a Special Edition key set. It would seem to me that the Morpher is going to be identical to the American Morpher. I really doubt they're going to take the Gokai version and bring that out, because if they do, that's an interesting decision, and the Special Edition keys will obviously have to fit into it. So are we going to get an American style Morpher with the tiny little keys, or are we going to get Japanese style Morpher with the large keys? Because that would be a good prize to go ahead and win. Now, in either case, what makes them Special Edition? Are they going to have glitter on them? Are they going to be metallic? Are they going to be see-through? Are they going to be have a button on it to spring load? What exactly is going to make these keys Special Edition other than the packaging? Because I totally see Bandai of America giving out the gold play Morpher, but then come out with the Special Edition key set, which is 5 keys, most likely keys that have already been produced in this package. Now, there is a good opportunity that we will get the American keys of the Phantom Ranger and the Titanium Ranger, assuming everybody votes for them. And I'll get into the Phantom Ranger and Titanium Ranger here in a minute as well. But if they make these keys of the Titanium Phantom Ranger, let's say they ultimately win up their side of the brackets and they're 2 of the final 5. Is the key set going to be exclusive only to the winner of the contest? Or is it something that's going to be mass-produced for everybody? Because think about it for a second. We've already gotten confirmation they will not make American Ranger keys. Therefore, no Titanium Ranger key will be made in the regular line. But if Titanium Ranger wins, they will have to make a custom key for the set. So if they make the custom key and go through all the trouble, are you telling me that only one person is going to be able to win that key and own it? Because it seems to me that if you're going to make the Titanium Ranger key that the fans vote they want it, then shouldn't you make it for everybody? Now, this is speculation at the moment because I don't know. Is the Special Edition Ranger key set going to be only the one available for the sweepstakes winner? Or can anybody buy it? You go out to your Target and you get the Morphin Madness contest winners and have the 5 keys in the set. That's ultimately what I want to know in regards to that. Are they actually going to make that widely available for everyone? And again, if you're going to go ahead and have Titanium Ranger and Phantom Ranger win, then should you not actually make those keys for everybody to have available? Because they're going to make a Lightspeed Rescue set. They're going to come up with the other 2 Rangers, obviously, pink and yellow, but you're not going to have Titanium? Again, I don't particularly understand that. And actually something I do want to talk about, because somebody had brought it to my attention in a message. And I thought long and hard about this. And I don't know if there is a chance of this happening or not. But he had argued to me that they put the Titanium Ranger and the Phantom Ranger into the pool of 80 to see how many people would vote on them. But that ultimately they would stack the system against them so that they could not win, and therefore they would not have to make the keys. Basically, his whole argument was they were going to tease us with the possibility to see if we'd vote for them, and then even if we did vote for them, the system would be essentially rigged to where they could not win. I don't necessarily know if I believe that, but that definitely sounds like something Bandai of America would do. Because this is obviously tying with Bandai of America. That they would give you the option to have something really cool, but then they put the system in where they're not going to go ahead and make it. And that actually ties in with my first point, because if they're proven so popular, then you should make the keys for everybody. I still don't understand why they only want to make 60 keys, because you get that, right? We have 80 Rangers in the pool, but Bandai is only going to make 60 Ranger keys. Yeah, that makes perfect sense, doesn't it? But I wouldn't put it past them if that's something that they would go ahead and do, that they would put them in there. Now, as of today, Phantom Ranger and Titanium Ranger are both leading their respected votes, and they are both in opposite sides of the bracket, so you could absolutely end up with Titanium and Phantom Ranger in the 5-key set. But again, it just opens all these different questions on what Bandai is going to do, and unfortunately Bandai really hasn't been forthcoming with any type of answer on this. Another issue people have been having actually ties into the issue at hand of the big controversy. So last night, as of March 28th, Power Rangers on Facebook and Morphin Madness released a special message saying that they have found voter fraud going on with Morphin Madness. So it turns out that all of Tommy's opponents in this round were losing significantly. And significantly, I mean by the Gold Ranger was beating out the White Ranger by 70-some%. The Green Ranger was losing, and it only got like 20% of the votes. Just these really odd numbers. My original thought was that people were trolling against Tommy, because ultimately, like how Phantom and Titanium can both have keys, Tommy can actually have 2 keys in the final selection, with the way that the voting is set up, the Green Ranger going against the White Ranger, basically. So it's Return of the Green Ranger all over again. Now, there have been a number of people who are really upset about that Tommy probably should have had his own side of the bracket, and they should have organized things a little bit better. And supposedly, what I originally thought is people were trolling against Tommy. The people were having these campaigns like, don't vote for Tommy, let's get no Tommy keys made. Because, believe it or not, there are people out there who absolutely hate Tommy altogether. Just because he's popular. Nothing wrong with his character, but they think he's too overexposed. And while there is truth to that, you can't necessarily deny that he, as the Green Ranger and the White Ranger, was really cool, and that his return Dino Thunder was very interesting. So that was kind of my original thought was going on, but as Morphin Madness indicate, people were basically stuffing the ballots, and they went in, found what was going on, removed all the fake ballots, and as soon as that happened, now Green Ranger is at 73%, White Ranger is at 68% or something. People were voting against Tommy. And again, I guess it's trolling in that regard as well. But somebody just had too much time in their hands to rig this. Yeah, I mean, what happened in Florida was obviously rigging, and Al Gore won the election and everything, but we got the wrong president. But somebody felt, how can we one-up that? Oh yeah, I know, let's have Tommy not even make it to the final round. So it's just crazy. So again, the controversy is essentially that Tommy had so many in there that people actually rigged some sort of system to vote against Tommy, to shoot Tommy down. Because I'll tell you this right now, they had Green Ranger versus I think it was Green Ranger versus White Dino Thunder Ranger, and the White Dino Thunder Ranger was winning like nobody's business. And I was just like, no, that's not possible. Because of all the things that can happen in this world, there is no way that Trent, as the White Dino Thunder Ranger, is more popular than Tommy as the Green Ranger. Maybe Jason or Trey as the Gold Ranger could probably be out the White Ranger, but face it, folks, in the final round of voting, we will have Green Ranger versus White Ranger, and whoever wins that will get the key. We will at least have one Tommy representative in the final round. Well, those are the main points I wanted to go ahead and hit on. Against just general confusion on a number of things. Again, 80 Rangers, 9 of which female, and Alien Rangers. Oh my goodness. I don't know if it's like Kaku Ranger or just the concept of Alien Rangers and what they meant in the Power Rangers universe and how they've been underrepresented. But I just find it insulting only one Ranger from the entire team. And even Operation Overdrive. Folks, I don't know why people hate Operation Overdrive, but at least put Rose in there, of all people. You know what I'm saying? I don't know what their thought was in this. Maybe they didn't want to make female keys. Maybe they didn't think female keys would sell. And I will say this. I do think one female key will ultimately be in there by the time this is done, and I think it's either going to be probably Jin or Yellow Mighty Morphin Ranger, which to me is Trini. That's the only. If it was Aisha, I would not vote, but if it was Trini, that's why I think it is, and that's why I'm voting for Trini in this. But yeah, it's very interesting system. I'm curious to find out who ultimately wins, if it's going to be legitimate, and what they're going to do with that key set, and what that ultimately means, I guess, in the Power Ranger franchise. Because I think what I'll do is once we get all the votes in, we find out all these questions, I'll definitely talk about who the 5 winners are, you know, what I think, did I vote for them and all that, and, you know, just wrap up Morphin Madness, again, once Raptor D Jedi and I do that special of ours. But again, I think that's all the thoughts that I have here tonight, but I am very curious what everybody else thinks here. So if you have any thoughts on Morphing Madness, any comments about anything I said, absolutely leave them in the comments section. I'd like to know what everybody thinks about this, other than hatred against Tommy and the female thing, which again is the big thing. But is there any type of controversy that has not been talked about that you guys want to go ahead and bring up? And I definitely would like to go ahead and hear that. But otherwise, I want to thank you guys for listening. Look out for my next podcast as well. Have a good evening, and the tavern is now closed.